Hello, everyone, and welcome. It's another Thursday evening. It's 8:30. That can mean only one thing for all of you guys out there in the land of Facebook and YouTube. It's time for the online oval racing National Hot Rods round number 2, coming to you this week from Birmingham. Now, I'm joined this week in our virtual commentary box by Sarah, who you guys will remember from last week, and also joined by a new voice that you guys will no doubt hear in the background, Mr. Dom Brock himself from Speedworth TV. Good evening, guys. How are you both this evening?
Good evening. Yes, we're all good this end. No dramas this evening. We got down here in time, so looking forward to another good night of racing. And yeah, nice to introduce Dom to join us as well.
It's good to be here. Thanks for taking me on, guys. I had my own troubles last week, as you all well know at this point, but pleased to be part of the team and look forward to a great evening's racing ahead of us.
So it should be good. That's Dom and Sarah that you've heard from there. We are racing this week, as we said. Birmingham Wheels, it's a nice wide and fast track. We've had some good times with people going around here. Big wide turns should make for some interesting racing. Now, as we said, we have myself, Sarah, and Dom. We're going to be your voices through everything that happens on track tonight. We've got the same admins that we had last week. We've got Mr. J. Austin, who is out there, our master of ceremonies, making sure that everyone is, well, doing what they're supposed to, basically. And Sarah, the increase in numbers that we have seen in applications and drivers this week. What would you say about that? Just sheer numbers wise.
Well, it's just been amazing, hasn't it? We have just been completely, oh, you know, amazed at how many people have joined us. We've even have that we had to cut off the amount of people that were entering races and realised partway through the week that we'd actually got some races from last week that hadn't managed to book in yet. So it's just overwhelming how many we've got. We've got 163 users registered with us now, which is just phenomenal.
It's pretty amazing going. We had what 42 I think it was that were all booked in for the race last week round, and this time we have. Am I right in saying 59?
Yeah, correct. A full
Yeah,
59.
it's sort of been changing. Obviously, some people had some technical issues last week, so hopefully we'll get everybody online. But we've had to actually extend the amount of heats that we've got and the amount of groups that we've got, just purely to fit everybody in. So rather than having 3 heats each, they'll have 2 heats each tonight. But it's just amazing. We've got a lovely mixture of real life racers that are obviously, not able to race at the moment with the situation in the world as it is, and some online gamers. So it's lovely to see the two areas mixed together.
Dom, going over to that because obviously that's something where you're probably a little bit more up to speed. So the guys that are real racers that have come in and joined us, do you think that's kind of something that's just going to tide people over for what we've got at the moment, or can you see that going on a little bit longer?
I think it's definitely attracted quite a large portion of the audience. I know from reading through comments last week that there were people asking how many more real drivers are going to be out there. Obviously, we've got a fair few this evening, and they're all looking very competitive as well. Some of them taking this very seriously. I think it will tide most fans over. Certainly, we're doing our best to put out as much content as we can. From a Speedworth TV perspective, but this is fresh, this is new, and I think it will please anyone that watches it, regardless of if you don't usually watch esports. This competitive action, it'd be hard to turn your nose up at it when it's this good and when there's this many big names taking part.
Definitely, definitely. Now we've got a few people
Had a
that
lot of
were
practicing as well this week, even more than last week as well. I know there's a lot of been people in the server all week just trying to learn Birmingham because they've just got their heads around Ipswich last week, and obviously we've got a new track again this week in Birmingham. Which if only we could still go racing there, although that hill was a killer for us that have been there in real life.
So I think it's probably about time. It looks, from what I can see, like the guys are all starting to get themselves sorted out on track. So I think let's just see if you guys have got all of your paperwork handy. Do you know what? I think it's probably a good time for us to run through the grid and see who it is that we've actually got racing this evening.
Okay, so if I start off with the whites at the front, so your pole man for this heat one will be Josh King, 89, who I don't recall was a racer last week, so that looks like a new name to me. Joining him alongside him on the first row is Scotty, 78. Second row is Jack Aylward, that's a famous family name around racing, who I know many of you will know. And welcome back, Mr. Wildman himself, Danny Fisk, former hot rod racer who's had a break over the last couple of years, but he's come to join us. So it's nice to have you back, Danny, even if it's on the online version. Then we've got JNR Rod 332. That's going to take some getting my teeth around this evening. And James and Woodcock 44 round off your whites for the heat one.
So if we give it a second, it looks like the graphics have jumped through a little bit. So do you know what? I'm going to jump in with the yellows that we've got in this evening. We've got Yannick Kalansky, who I believe, if I remember rightly from what I read, actually races. Is it Yannick that races go-karts? Quite possibly. And
I'll just flick through the paperwork.
You'll be able to tell us on that one. Tommy Crome is second in the yellow band, and then Johnny McCoy in the 148 car, and the AS Racing number 32 car finishes off the yellows.
Okay, so taking you through the blues, we've just got two blues in this heat one. So we've got Tim 89 and BDR 867.
And then let's have a look. So on the reds, we've got some very, very familiar names in there. Lining up at the front of the red pack, we have Mr. Wayne Wolsey. Barry Casey in the 961 car is then second in that, and Adam Maxwell, who's dropped actually down from the Superstars last week into the red grade, makes up the final bit of the reds.
Okay, so just quickly going to take you through the superstars this evening, so I know the drivers are all ready and waiting to go. So we've got in the superstar group, front of that row is Carl Waller Barrett, Carl 162, as he's better known on here. Ricky Slater 102 lines up alongside him. Then in your second row for the superstars is Barber 296 and a famous face in National Hot Rod Racing, Derek Martin. Just need to explain, if I may, Gav, that the drivers are all lined up, and we just wanted to pay our respects to two really, really lovely men who were personal great friends of mine who we've lost in recent days. The first being Colin Gom, who was just a legend, great friends of Dave Longhurst and his wife Carol. We unfortunately lost Colin, really great guy. The second one we just lost a couple of days ago is Pete Stevens, who is somebody that I know or knew very dearly. So if we may just take a minute, if that's okay, if we just may give a 1 minute silence, if that's okay with everybody, if we could just do that now, please. Thank you, everybody. I'm sure you'll all agree to two very familiar and popular faces in the hot rod paddock as well as track paddock as well. So thank you for that. And back over to you to start off the race there, Gab. I think that the guys are all lined up and pretty much ready to go now.
Let's have a look. We're looking at the moment at the leading guy here. We've got Josh King in the 589 car. Let's do classic what we tend to do in these races. We'll take a view from the back of his car as we get ready to go green in heat number 1 here at Birmingham. In here the revs climbing and we're going racing. Off they go. Look, we've got cars disappearing off already.
Fisk's up the bank. That's not a good start for him.
Danny doesn't seem to have had a particularly good start to his online racing career, bless him. He was much better in a hot rod in real life, obviously.
Now we're looking here at Mr. Barber in the 296 car. He's one of your superstars. He was running a lot faster last week than he seems to be this week. That looks like a bit of carnage there. That's I think that's Lewis Pine, one of the newer and lesser experienced guys. I know he races a Corsa in real life, I think out in Ireland. So let's have a look where some of these superstars have gotten to in the field already. Not over there.
Carl Barrett's doing really well. He's come through from the superstar group and he's now in 9th place already.
And that was who I was just trying to find.
And Derek Martin from the very back of the grid, he is now up to 7th. But Josh King is still holding this race with a almost 2-second lead. Just come down a little bit with Scotty 78, although it's now gone back up to 2.5 seconds.
So as we scroll through, you can't miss Carl Waller-Barrett in this bright silver livery. Do you know what? Let's jump on board with Carl and see exactly what he's looking at. He's looking at the back of that bright orange 32 car in front. Someone's already pulled over on the infield there, it looks like, and he's...
Carl's definitely lost a little bit of time. He was up in 8th, but he is now dropped back out of the top 10.
He was. That was... I was just about to say that was...
second position as well, guys. Scotty 78's down to 3rd, and Kilansky is up to 2nd.
And he's making up time. The leader for the looks of things.
Derek Martin as well, still moving.
Yeah, I just spotted that when he's up to 3rd now. Just as we were mentioning him, he's up to 3rd, doing really well from very back of the grid.
But we're back with Josh King. You can see Josh King, they all seem to be pretty much huddled in and around this group, as you can see there. That looked like Wayne Wolsey that I could see a little bit further up the field that Josh King's just catching up with. He's done well to keep himself in first place off of the grid though.
He's built a good buffer from the rest of the pack. I don't think he'll get caught, to be honest. I think the fight that we'll want to watch will be between Kalansky and Derek Martin here.
And that's the one that we're watching right now. So you've got Yannick Kalansky in the 193 car in front, Derek Martin, and you can already see he's closing right in on the back of Yannick's car. This could be interesting over the next few corners. 13 laps out of 15 gone.
Oh, somebody had spun just then, didn't quite catch who that was on that last corner.
That was the leader.
And King's gone.
So the leader's gone, yeah.
Kalansky now in the lead. He's got to defend very hard from Derek Martin in these closing stages. Martin looking very neat on the corners.
So here we go. We're going into the final lap now.
He's going to do it, surely. Up the inside he goes.
This is an amazing drive from Derek Martin. Absolutely amazing. From back of the grid to front in just 15 laps and online as well. Danny needs to just get out of the way, ready for Martin to come through. He doesn't want to mess this race up on Danny's first outing out. The Wildman doesn't need to be so wild now.
Here we go. Derek Martin, around he comes. As we just said, from last all the way to the front of the grid. What a drive. And yeah, it was big action there. It lasted up until the 13th lap of this race before we saw our original race leader crash out.
Josh
And
King finishing down in 8th in the end. That's a real drop and a disappointment for him.
it was looking very good for him up until that point. Let's see who, if anyone, is left out on track at the moment as all the guys head back in and we get ready for round 2. So Derek Martin, does that surprise you at all, that one, Sarah? He was very very quick last week out when we were watching him. I wouldn't say it's a particular surprise.
No, definitely not. I mean, to come from back to front, and he just did so well, so quickly. He's obviously going to be one to watch throughout this whole series.
Yeah, he definitely is. Yannick, I don't think really did that much that I can really remember last week. So it was interesting seeing him doing as well as he did just then.
Yeah, no, it's nice to see it mixed up a bit, to be honest, because what you don't want, as in everyday racing, is the same guys winning all the time, because it doesn't encourage new people to come in. And obviously, as we saw last week, it was all mixed up, and that's obviously encouraged new guys to come in. Something just to point out that was explained to me by the admins during this week is it may look like you have a massive crash after the checkered flag on what you're watching. It's not actually a massive crash. Apparently, it's just the server kind of booting everybody out of the race because the race is finished. So if you think, oh my goodness, after the checkered flag, which I know myself and Gav got caught unawares last week, but it was explained to me it's just because the server's finished, the race is finished. We better quickly run through heat 2 because they're about to get going. Do you want to
I
take
was just
the
thinking
whites,
that.
Gav?
Let's transition over so that we can see exactly what is happening. I have to make sure that we've got the right race that is showing. Let's just make sure that's what we've got. But heat number 2, we've got Raymond Henderson. When you see on the graphics, he's going to be showing in a white car because he hasn't got a car that's loaded in this week, unfortunately. Damien Mulvey, that's a name that a few of you guys will definitely recognise. He's running in a pink 51 car, second in the whites. Followed behind him by David Ryan. He's running in that yellow Corsa. Then we've got Charlie Alwood. He's also running in an unskinned car, so you'll see him in the white one. Luke Loveland in the 220. That's a very nice car, looking like it's based off of the Mercedes F1 cars. Jackie Christie, Wayne Green, Marnius 191, and the whites are finished up by Chris Wilkes in the blue and yellow 111 car.
So in your yellow group, we've actually got just 3 races this week in this heat 2. So we've got Pecky 412, Mark Peck, who is in real life runs Gavin Murray these days, Alan, who is known as Alan Christie in real life, and Ronan O'Brien 715. That was the green car I liked, I think, last week, wasn't it, Gav? Leaving you over to the blues.
That was definitely the one that you liked last week. I mean, I'm going to hate to burst the bubble on this one. He has actually changed the colour of that car, but we'll get into that later.
Ah, boo!
The Blues, we've only got 2 of them running in this race. We've got Johnny Hammond, who's running that Wayne Wolsey number 50 car. Look out for Wayne's car and Johnny's. They look very similar. Wayne just running the gold version and Johnny in the silver. And Mr. Tad's Gaming, who's one of the admins in the group, rounds out the Blues.
Okay, so starting off, just 2 reds in this one. So we've got Dan Smith, who's known in here as Smithy565. He's done both national and 2-litre hot rod racing over the last few years. And then Ryan Woolsey is your second red for this evening. So over to you for the superstars, Gav.
Well, we've got Mr. Superstock 144. It's Lewis Willisey, who I found actually does race Superstocks in real life. I can't tell you exactly what it is that he races. I know he's progressed up from mini stocks, and that's up in Scotland that he races those. He is followed by number 11, Sean Jacklin. And finally, rounding out, and my one definitely to watch in heat number 2 is the Irishman Niall McFerrin in the 910 car. Had some absolutely sterling races last time out when we were watching him.
Yeah, an
Yeah, so
incredibly
just...
driver. Sorry, I'll let you go, Sarah.
No, that's fine. I was just found some information on Sean Jacklin, who is in that Superstock pack at the back there. So, as you say, real name Sean Jacklin, Sean 11, we're going to know him as here. He's come from Outlaw Hot Rods, so still in the Hot Rod brand, but not with the national guys. And he's got a Steve Birch's Toyota Starlet. He's also done some national super rods, and he was the 2010 British champion. And he's currently working with Davey York, who's a 196 national hot rod on real life track.
So you can just see on the screen now as these guys come round and start lining up. We're looking at Mark Peck in that 412 car, which I know is a replica of an old 205, I think it was. Dom, any picks, any names that really jump out at you from what you've seen so far for this heat?
I mean, McFerrin was very consistent last week. He was one that He's definitely one of the top performers. Tad's, I have to give a shout out to one of our admin. He's doing a good job out there. He's in the blues. Had a go with him when I first got involved with this, and I'd like to see him do well, but he's got a challenge on his hand mid-pack, and he'll have the Reds and the Superstars right on his tail from the start, I reckon.
Sarah, have you got
Well,
anyone that you can add?
yeah, well, I was watching the Woolsies last week, and Ryan's in this race, and he had some storming runs.
That's not a bad shout. I think I may possibly throw another name into the hat, which is the gentleman that we are looking at right now, Lewis Willisey, Mr. Consistent last week. So he's definitely going to be worth one to watch. In fact, do you know what? We'll ride on board with him as we head off the start of this heat number 2 this evening here at Birmingham. So you get the view here of what you can see if you are sat in a superstar position at the beginning of these races.
That is quite a way back on the track. I've been there many a time myself, but it does make you realise when you go on board. So this is a really, really nice new view for those of us that haven't actually been inside a car.
Especially when you actually think the white cars are starting all the way round on the start-finish line, which is literally the complete opposite side of the racetrack from where we're sat right now. Let's go back up to the outside. You can't quite catch it from this angle. And they're all revving now. So here we go, away for the start.
Just hear the admins asking them just to keep it clean. We have got guys...
Oh, we got a car on its roof already there.
Oh, hello.
I didn't see who that was. I saw it was a blue car. I couldn't tell much beyond that.
Pecky's on the centre as well.
So not a great start. Oh, we got some tussles there and mid-pack already.
Willisey's up 1.
And that's Alan Christie round the wrong way. Here we are, number 910. This was definitely one of our ones to watch. As you see Lewis Willisey getting all over the curbing on the inside. We're watching as Tads gets passed by one of the Woolsies there. I think that's Ryan, isn't it, in the 940 car?
Yeah, he's up to 6th already. He was one of my shouts, and McFerrin, who you were also shouting for earlier on, Gav, he's in 5th place already. God, that's super work from the back of the grid.
Running quite nicely there. Let's have a look here. There's Niall, and you got Smithy in that orange 565 car just in front.
Smithy's doing a good job defending at the moment, but Niall's obviously hunting him down. And there he has. Look, a little sniff up the inside. Is he going to make the move? No. The door is shut. He'll try again very soon. Oh, a mistake.
A little bit up against the wall. As these guys come round, they're going to be going past my favourite new car, I must admit, that's come into the skins this week, that 220 car. But let's watch something a little bit more interesting as Niall does. He makes it stick this time, diving up the inside, and he's going to make that stick. He's not going to lose that position anytime in a hurry.
No, this is a really good tussle, isn't it? Really good tussle.
Look a little bit further back, and you've still got Ryan. That's one of the Slaters tucked in behind him, and Lewis Willisey, who's made his way up to, is that 6th place, I think? He was running obviously in the back with the Superstars as well.
Yeah, 6th place, just 0.3 seconds behind Ricky Slater. That is Ricky Slater, with Ryan Woolsey now up to 4th.
Here we go. Let's have a look. This is what it looks like on board with young Niall McFerrin. Look at that. That's 2 passes in the just within that straight there. He's absolutely flying at the moment. He's up to 2nd. The question is, how long is it going to take him to chase down that, well, it looks like about a 5-second gap that he's got there to the leading car.
Yeah, and we've also got Smithy 565. He was with Ryan Woolsey in the grid in the Reds, and he seems to have just followed through this on the slipstream. So some really good racing there from those guys, and Smithy's up to 3rd.
This could be another interesting...
Oh, go on, Dom.
McFerrin is beginning to close the gap, but I think realistically the leader has checked out here, and I don't think he'll be able to catch, but he's doing a good job.
14 and 15, yeah, I don't think it's quite going to happen this time round.
Gap coming down now, nearly 3 seconds. It was 5 when they started the chase.
So Charlie Elwood, who is our leader, and the only white to be in the top of those group of cars. He's now only 3 seconds gap. That was 9 seconds a few seconds ago. So McFerrin is really on a charge.
So Charlie up front, that's Chris Wilkes there, just impeding Niall, who gets a little bit sideways as he comes over and they finish the race there. Charlie in first, Niall McFerrin second, Smithy 565 in third, Ricky Slater in fourth, Lewis Willisey fifth, Ryan Woolsey in sixth, Mr. Tad's Game in number 421 in seventh, Luke Loveland in the 220 car eighth, Alan Christie in ninth, and Mr. Pecky rounds out in 10th, although 2 laps down. I'll be intrigued to see who we actually lost in that race, for that to come out as the result, that's for sure.
That's made me giggle, Gav. Poor old Mark.
2 laps down, although you actually have a look at some of them and it's saying that they're 1 lap down, so I'm not entirely sure if that's completely right what that was showing us, but we'll wait and see.
Maybe he just hadn't gone over the checkered flag at the point that our screens were coming up and we were reading the results out. Maybe
could well be. We'll just have to wait and see. Heat number 3 is on its way, just as they are getting rid of all of the guys from heat number 2. See if we can get you some graphics for heat number 3. And let's see if we can start having a little look at who's going to be racing in this heat. Do you want to take the whites for heat 3, Sarah?
Yeah, no problem. Luckily, that's not the piece of paper I've dropped on the floor, so I've still got the heat list. So your pole man is Daniel 28. Then you've got G Baker 216 alongside him. Second row is the Ghost. Alongside him is Donovan Vorster. Now, I'm sure I just saw a message come up from Jordan Vinkel. I'm guessing that's meant to be 122. I don't think he's actually with us. I did just see a message pop up in the previous race. So we'll keep going anyway, so we may not have him. So OBO Racer is then just the back of the white group with Lucas 24 and Daniel 28. And over to you, Gav, for the yellows.
Every single one of those white grade racers is new into racing with us this week. A couple of those I know who've raced bangers and that before, but when it comes to racing with us, they have all joined this week and are racing for the first time tonight. So, but anyway, in the yellow grades, we have some much more familiar names. Yellow grades, we have Mr. Chris Crane in his green number 15 car, and King Womble, that's Sam Nelson, who is racing the same this week, actually. Still one of, I think, only 2 minis that we've got signed up to race, and bucking the Tigra trend.
Yeah, in our blues, we've got Wally Hardy, 972, and he was with us last week. Sean 152, which is a national hot rod racer in real life, as is Mr. Hardy. He is second car off the front of the blues. We've then got Craig Durrant and Forks 46.
Now he's just going out of his way, I think, to try and confuse us with his naming, because you'd think with a name like Forks 46 he's going to be running in the 46 car. No, he's not. You'll see from the graphics which are coming up just now that he is in fact running 362. That's Matt Forked who's trying to catch us out there. Anyway, once we get back down to the Reds, there is a gentleman who we will be speaking to live later on this evening, Mr. Gavin Murray, Cannonball himself in the 95 car. Ian Reardon is racing in the 142. He is in that green Tigra, followed by Dom Freeman in the 61, the NASCAR-inspired Tigra, rounding out the Reds.
So just to finish your grid for this Heat 3, our superstars are Simon 998, Aaron McGrath, and then back of the grid is QE, which is Jason Q174, a regular national hot rod racer for those who follow the formula in real life.
So there's a couple of real world hot rod drivers that are out in this heat. They're always worth keeping an eye on. They've had some very mixed results so far, I would say. What would you say on that one, Dom? Is it likely to be hugely different, these guys doing this, to what it is week in, week out when they're racing the car for real?
I mean, it really depends on what kind of setup they have. I've seen a variety of setups. There are people simply just playing this on an Xbox controller, a simple pad. There are other people, and there's quite a few of them, the actual hot rod drivers I know, have really gone out their way and started buying sim rig style stuff to get the best feeling and most accurate experience playing this game. Um, with QE, Gavin Murray, and Sean Taylor in this one, it would be good to see how they fare up against the other guys. Sean Taylor had an all-right run last week. QE won the B final last week, and Gavin Murray again a solid performance last week as well. So it'd be good to see how they fare at this different venue now.
Definitely, yeah. QE seems to be a pretty consistent one who's up there or thereabouts. Aaron McGrath, who is not a real hot rod driver, but he's been doing pretty nicely. In fact, let's take a quick look at him now, as we see the cars and they're starting to grid up, so we can see that is Aaron McGrath that we are looking at in that number 57 Citroen Saxo with QE just on the outside of him, and you can see Gavin Murray just on the edge of the shot, or he's now disappeared from view, so we'll have to wait and see what's...
Just to avoid confusion, folks who are watching, this is Heat 3. We've just got to update our graphics. Just had a little bit of a technical issue, but this is Heat 3.
It's you watch, it'll magically change just about now.
I did like to say, Gav, can you get on with your job, please? You are doing about 6 or 7 jobs all at once at the minute,
the joy.
so
we'll
I'll
have
let
to...
you off.
Once we
can multitask.
Yeah, once we've got the bigger budget, and we've got producers sat who are doing the changes and everything, and we're just commentating, then it'll make life a lot easier. But until then, we'll have to make do with me pressing the buttons and the three of us muddling our way through trying to commentate what we have got. So there's another one of the nice new cars that has come in. Silver seems to be very popular, actually. Very popular silver with the new guys that have come in. That being the car of Daniel 28.
Oh my goodness, I've just spotted one of our Facebook watchers has clearly been to real life Birmingham. He says the toilets could do with a clean. That was always the case. Cheers, Carl Upshire, for that one. That's made me giggle.
Let's have a quick nose back through. This is another one of our new racers. It's taking it a little bit slowly, which is not surprising. This, I think, is going to be his first run out. Yeah, this is Donovan Vorster in the 73 car. So this will be his first race. So some of these guys at the front, it's definitely going to be worth watching. Maybe not necessarily to see what blistering pace they'll set, but maybe to see what kind of a mess they could potentially get themselves into, if nothing else.
Loving this car from Cameron Sayers. He's a 2-litre. I believe he's a 2-litre driver in real life. I might be getting him mixed up with another driver, but yeah, that's a very nice looking car. The orange and the St George on the side.
And there we go. They're off underway now.
Good start from Daniel 28. He's taken the lead relatively easy, leading off it from Vorster. Sayers in third, and then going back a few places.
It is back a fairly big gap before you then get back to Oboe Racer. I'm trying to remember. It's Daniel Potter, I think his actual name is, who's just lost out. That was Craig Durant who went round, and that's who is that's just made their way through? Is that Wooly? I'm pretty sure that's Wooly that's just made his way through up and into fourth now. So he's in there. Forks 46, our guy with the confusing number, and as Dom was just saying, that's Sean Taylor in behind him in the 152 car.
He had a little spin on the way to the grid at the beginning, so he's managed to regain his composure, I see, and get back out racing, and he's sitting in 7th at the minute.
And you see the pack that's diving up the inside. That's Aaron McGrath there, who's one of the superstars.
McGrath was definitely one of the faster ones last week, along with Kennedy, who is making a move up the field as well.
Sean's lost the back end there.
Round. Up the bank he goes.
Oh, narrowly avoided by Craney there, who is used to racing with against in the real life National Hot Rod scene. So well done, Chris Crane, for that avoidance.
So that has put Sean Taylor right down the order. That's Craig Durant, who we saw going round earlier on, with Woolley just giving him a little nudge as they come round here. And
Won't be the first time this race.
no, and Cameron actually is doing pretty well to stay with Woolley Hardy there. Now they've gone either side of Durant. There's a bit of a gap forming, but the newcomer to the Hot Rod Formula in 4th place at the moment. 10 out of 15 laps.
Progress from the blue grades. He's looking good and could well end up 2nd by the end of this race.
He is. He's making moves. This is Chris Crane, who's, from what I can tell, not doing anything particularly spectacular. Neither is...
No, looks like he's racing on his own pretty much. He's just behind Dom Freeman's in 10th and Chris is in 11th at the minute.
That's Dom there with Aaron McGrath just outside him. A little nudge and he's going over the curbs on the inside.
Daniel 28 again in the lead. Has checked out over a 6 seconds gap. I can't see that one being caught by the end of the heat, I'm afraid.
No, there he is, just entering the back of our shot there as we look at that 362 car. And what a nice looking car to be outrunning and in the lead. We'll catch up with him directly there, although he is looking a little bit loose down these straights. He's drifting it there.
Yeah, it's gone round, yeah.
Same issue again. Let's see whether or not that's enough. That's surely got to have been enough for that 72 car of Donovan Vorster to make its move. He's very loose round there.
I think he needs to look at his setup, guys, doesn't he? I was just about to say, it's not usual that a pole sitter keeps the lead for this long, but he then lost it. Although our screens are showing he is still in the lead.
So he may have just hung on to that. Whether or not that was a little bit of showboating as it got round to the last lap, I'm not entirely sure. But yeah, our results showing that Daniel did hang on to the lead that time round. I haven't seen any of the other cars look anywhere near as loose as he just made that look as he was driving around the track then.
Just a heavy stamp on the throttle. You can really easily lose the rear end of a car if you just give it enough welly. And yeah, I think it might have been some showboating because he did take the win in the end there. Couldn't be caught in the end. He was doing a very good job. And was a very commanding race from him, and I can expect to see him moving up the grades very quickly if he keeps putting in performances like that.
Now, one thing I have noticed that you can really use to tell the difference, if we get any onboard shots, which we'll try and have a look at a little while later, you can really tell the difference between the drivers who are using a wheel, those of you who are using something like an Xbox controller, and I think there's a few who are even using a keyboard. Now, obviously, it's much easier being able to use a wheel or an Xbox controller to control these cars. You look at the guys who are using a keyboard and it all of a sudden turns from full lock one way to back in the middle within a split second, and they're just constantly having to press the buttons. So not the ideal way to be racing a national hot rod, that's for sure.
I believe there was a couple even trying to do it off their mobile phones, weren't there?
Quite possibly. It wouldn't surprise me with things in this day and age, whether or not there were people trying that. Wheels are definitely the easiest way if you want to be quick in this, and a lot of the guys who race in real life, no matter what the formula really, are going to all be racing on wheels of some sort. I know a lot of drivers have gone out and bought them, especially just to take part in this competition that we've got running while we're all locked down.
Definitely. Before we go through the grid for heat 4, have we got some results from heat 3 at all, Gav?
We might have, but the results seem to be playing up a little bit at this end, so I think it's probably going to be best that we just start having a look through what is happening in the round for heat 4 at the moment. As I said, the results seem to be playing up a little bit this evening. You can all be assured.
We've got a message from Shad come through that he can't race this evening as there was a problem with his skin, so that's unfortunate. We've just lost him this evening.
Well, with that being said, that's unfortunate that he's not here. Let's see who is here as we go forward into, what will this be? This will be heat number 4. that we are going to be starting. So
It will be. Shall I give you a breather, Gavin? Shall I start with the whites?
oh, please.
Okay, so we have got Luke Loveland in Loveland 220, who will be your pole man for Heat 4. He will be alongside Jackie Christie. Then in row 2 is Wayne Green, and he will line up alongside Marnus 191. Behind them will be Wilkes 111 and JN Rod 332. There's some ones to get our teeth around tonight, isn't there, guys? And then all I have, I'm afraid, for the back of the whites is a name of James. So maybe you can help me out with that one, Gav or Dom. And then Woodcock 44, round off your whites.
So, behind that, we'll have to have a look when the graphic comes up on screen, because you'll be, as we said, deeply disappointed when you see that's James Bennett, by the way, just to poke you in the right direction with the 284 car at the back end of the whites. When you see Ronan O'Brien's car, he's now gone kind of with an Irish flag motif on his car, so pretty much completely ditched the green that you were enjoying last week on that 715 car. Johnny McCoy is in the 148 car. You won't miss him in a hurry. He's in bright orange, although so is AS Racing in the car behind. So a very orange-yellow grade that we've got there.
So we've got 2 blues for this Heat 4 is Admin Man, Tads Gaming, and BDR867 are your blues.
So they're all starting to head out to the grid now. So let's go through the reds, where we have Ryan Wolsey in the 940 car, Barry Casey in his 961 car, which he was missing being painted last week, and Adam Maxwell. Now that's not a name that we've said much so far this evening, and that kind of goes against what I was expecting going on last week's sort of stand-ins.
Yeah, I know he had some technical problems last week, so hopefully Adam's got all the gremlins sorted and been able to practice sufficiently this week, which I believe I've seen him in the server. Anyway, your superstars is that man Derek Martin back out again, and we've got Barber 296 and another hot one to watch. This could be interesting between Derek Martin and McFerrin 910. Both have had their 2 first races of the evenings have been outstanding, so this could be an interesting one, guys.
So let's pull it over so we can see the cars on the grid. We are looking at that man there, Niall McFerrin. Did pretty good in his first outing that we had this evening. Let's watch as all the cars try and sort themselves out a little bit here. This is Tads. He's one of the admins in that white Corsa that he's got there. So, pick for this race, Sarah.
Oh, as I just said, it's going to be interesting between Derek Martin and your 910, Mr. McFerrin there. Ooh, which one shall I go? I'm going to go with Martin. He's a good driver in real life, and he seems to have really got to grips with this online stuff as well. So I shall probably eat my words halfway through this, but that's my bet.
Dom.
I mean, you'd be a fool not to say Martin. Just quickly, it looks like Huey's on the back of the grid there as well, so I'm not sure whether there's been a shift in one of the heats, but there is Huey on the back row there as well. So there's some big names in this one with Maxwell and Ryan Wolsey there. Yeah, we'll have to see how it all pans out now. Just adding more drivers to the pan.
Definitely, yeah. I did notice actually that he's in there. He's not down on our list to be racing, so whether or not, as you said, there has been a bit of a reshuffle, I'm not entirely sure. All of the guys getting 2 heats worth of racing this evening, and then we have the B final, which is for those who finish outside the top 20, giving those guys a chance, if they can win that B final, to get themselves into the A final, which is the top 20 drivers. You can hear them revving. Let's get ready to go for heat number 4 this evening here at Birmingham.
And off they go. Good tussle in the superstars already. Derek Martin's still in the lead of the superstars there.
Definitely worth watching
Shuffle
these guys
wide
straight
and
off the back.
Contact at the back. Martin running side by side with McFerrin there. He's going to have a tough fight with him throughout the pack, I'm sure. But we lost Barber early on. I saw him spin. We've got a car on the inside there again. I'm not sure who that was. I saw a flash of orange. I'm not sure. It might have been Tads, but I think I'm wrong.
It didn't look like there was enough white on that for that to be tagged as we watch these guys head up, and Chris Wilkes gets sideways and all into the side of Niall McFerrin there, who's pulled out a couple of car lengths, or he had down the end of that straight on Derek Martin that we're riding on board with.
This looks like Martin's opportunity to go through, but McFerrin's going first.
That's Ryan Woolsey as well that's tucked in right in there, this little pack of three. If Ryan can stick in with them, then he should be doing all right for himself. Running in fourth at the moment, Derek Martin in third, and Niall McFerrin in second. You think these guys have come from the back of the grid?
Looks like it's Woodcock 44 who we've lost looking at the timing screens, although there doesn't appear to be anyone sat in the middle now, so maybe he's got back on track.
And then, look, these guys have caught up with Luke in the 220 car. He's new into racing this week, and he hasn't actually given us any information on what sort of racing history he's got, but I don't think he stands much of a chance there against the likes of Derek Martin and Niall McFerrin, and they actually get by him with relative ease.
Ryan Woolsey getting held up, and oh, he's gone at the back. Mistake there. Well, he's got to rejoin, but he's lost out to Barber, and his race is pretty much over in that sense. Derek Martin and Niall McFerrin were pretty much going as a pair up the grid. Ryan Woolsey was in with them as well, but in missing out there in that spin, he's pretty much ruined his chance of a good finish. 8th is, I reckon, the best he'll manage.
We've got McFerrin in the lead now with Derek Martin right behind him. We did say it'd be those two tussling at the front, didn't we? They were our predictions.
So there's QE. Let's have a quick look round as we watch these two guys. This is Derek Martin. You can see the gap there from him to Niall McFerrin in front as we come round to start lap number 12 out of 15. We did say it was going to be these guys from the get-go. And I think it's just going to be traffic that is probably going to make difference on what happens with these two guys.
Derek did have a car in between them, but the spinner just got out of the way. Martin's got a little bit of time to make up now. He's got to close that gap as they come round to the closing stages of this race.
14 out of 15, so there's a couple of laps to try and get round. It's less than a second, that gap now. It is possible to make that up in the time that he's got left, although with one lap left now, I'd say he's too far back to do anything.
And QE, our unexpected rider of this one, is up to third.
Great stuff from McFerrin there. A good win for him. Martin coming home second. QE, as you say, there in third. And, well, the rest of the pack's trundling on behind. There's some big gaps have developed, but the superstars controlling the race once again, coming all the way from the back and carving their way through to the lead.
So our top 10 for heat number 4, that was Niall McFerrin that came through with the win. Derek Martin ended up finishing, I think it was about half a second or so behind. QE was behind them in third, Tim Close in fourth, Mr. Loveland in fifth, Johnny McCoy was in sixth, Michael Barber in seventh, Ryan Woolsey in eighth in the end after that spin, and James was in ninth with Chris Wilkes 111 rounding out your top 10 for heat number 4. See if we can get the
prediction, Dom, on the Ryan Woolsey 8th position. You did say I reckon it'll be best to finish 8th.
It's that crystal ball that Dom's looking into.
I mean, once the spun occurred, he was so isolated in the pack. I didn't see him making up anything from there, I'm afraid. But, he put in a good effort, and I think he might have probably learned a few lines and a few tricks by following Martin and McFerrin. He sat with them for quite a while, and he'd be looking to them for a bit of pace and inspiration so that he can move up the ranks himself.
So I haven't... Definitely. Oh, sorry, Sarah. I was going to say, I haven't seen any huge surprises this evening. I don't know if you guys would agree or not, but there is nothing that has jumped out at me as anyone that has done anything that we weren't particularly expecting. The guys who were fast last week are still fast this week.
I mean, credit where it's due to Daniel 28 in Heat 3, because he seemed to dominate that one. We didn't get the results for that heat in the end, but I think he won that one. He's still showing on our screens as the winner. He's back out again in Heat 6. It'll be interesting to see how he does and whether he's going to go do a flag-to-flag victory again.
Definitely be an interesting one to see, and I think we can see him very quickly making himself or taking himself out of the white grade. Sorry for everyone this evening. We do seem to be having problems with the nice results graphic that we did have last week. We'll make sure that we get that up and running again in time for next week's heat. Until then, you'll just have to make do with us reading out the results as and when we get them. So it's as good a time as any now, I think, as they're all starting to jump back into server to have a look at who is going to be on the grid for Heat 5. I'll let you take the whites for this one if you want, Sarah.
Thank you very much, Gav. So our pole man for Heat 5 is Jordan Vovinkel 122. We've got our green man from last week in his new colours, the OBO racer, Mr. O'Brien. Then Lucas 24. Daniel 28 will be followed by Josh King 89. Scotty 78. Then Jack Aylward and Danny Fisk Wildman 304 will be the back of your whites.
Those of you with good hearing will be able to hear just in the background there. That is race admin Mr. James Austin himself. That's what we can't hear when we're on the stream. That a lot of people don't realise is happening while we are going through the grids. You've got the admin staff are working overtime to get everyone out onto the grid and everyone into their right positions so that everything tallies up with what we read to you. For grid position wise, Dom, I've done a lot of talking this evening. Do you want to take the yellows for Heat 5?
Yeah, so for the front of the yellows, we've got King Womble in that mini, Kaladsky with that good first heat performance that he had, and then Crusher Chrome 66, rounding out the yellow grades there.
I've actually found out who Crusher Chrome is. It is Mark Chrome, who is a friend of ours this end. So nice to know that you're out there, Mark, and racing. Okay, so I'll take the blues. So we've got Craig Durrant and Forks 46 are the front of the blues, followed by Tim 89.
I'll take the reds then. You two obviously aren't sure on cutting me out of the grid talk completely, so I'll go with the reds. So we've got Ian Reardon, Irishman in the green 142 Tigra, who is fronting up the reds. Dom Freeman in that 61 car is alongside him, with Wayne Woolsey in the 950. He's in the gold coloured 950 car. Would have been 50 in real life, but obviously that has been taken by Johnny Hammond, that number, so he's had to put 950 on the side of his car instead.
Dom, do you want to go for the superstars?
Sure thing. Well, we did have, as the graphic will probably show, we did have QE fronting the superstars, but because he's done his second heat already, I don't think he'll be out there again. The other two that we've got out there are Carl Waller-Barrett, 162. Lots of people know him. European champion once upon a time in the hot rods, and Ricky Slater. He was one of the faster ones last week. He, I think, had a few victories under his belt. So it'd be good to see how he and Carl perform from the back again today.
So it's a slightly thinned out superstars grid that we've got this time. When you look at it compared to some of the other heats, we've got more that will be coming together in Heat 6. Predictions wise, Sarah, what have you got predictions wise for this one?
Well, Carl Wallabarrett, who I know his mum is watching us this evening, so a big hello to you. He has done really well. Doesn't necessarily get the wins, but he's always there in kind of your top 3 or 4 guys at the end. So I'd like to see Carl coming through. And then also Kiwi, obviously, with the B final winner last week. Just depends, as Dom has said, whether he is actually out there or not. So obviously, we weren't expecting him in the previous heat. So he would have been a shout out if he's on track this one.
So an interesting occurrence that we've just had. It looks like the server may have gone down while they're sorting this out. Sarah will probably have a slightly better idea being in closer proximity to the admins, but at the moment we can't see anything that is happening on track, or even if there is anything happening on track. You got anything at all on that, Sarah?
Yeah, no, just been confirmed by the admin team. Yeah, the server has gone, so they're just trying to reboot. So let's see if we can have a look through some of the comments from people watching tonight, shall we, guys? Dom, do you want to have a little look at the Facebook comments first of all?
No, you take the lead first. I'll follow up in a second. Just give. I've looked up my own ones as well because I've been sharing it around in hope that more people get to see this great racing.
Okay, no problem. So we've got a comment from Emma Black who's just pointing out that Wayne Woolsey has used 950 as well, which I think you did just give a shout out for earlier on, Gav. I was sort of trying to do something else. And this was the same race number as his dad, Norman, who of course was a world champion and a very, very popular racer back in his day.
That's true. I did. In fact, no, I forgot to mention that was actually the case. Trying to rattle through the grid rather quickly. So, and that's the kind of thing that you can guarantee the viewers will always pick up on. Very very knowledgeable. And
So yeah, a few guys also asking about the results. Johnny McCoy, bless him, who is actually a racer, is asking, how did I do? I had to leave the server, so I didn't see. So obviously, as Gav's explained, we are having a few problems with the results. But what we'll probably get to do is put all the results up sort of at the end of the evening, just so everyone can see who got where in the heats of the finals.
if we don't have a chance to get them up then everyone will be able to find the results for each of the heats. They'll be posted in Facebook, I'd imagine, knowing the admin team pretty much within minutes of everything coming to a completion this evening. Now, Sarah, we've had a huge amount of people interested in, or not even interested, they have been joining in their droves over this past week. Do you want to take people through how they can find us?
Well, we have a YouTube channel. It's probably the best way to have a look. On the bottom of your screens, you'll see it flashing up, which is a website address where they can join us. So it's probably going to be the best way. So if I start shouting out website addresses now, they're going to go, oh my goodness. So on our stream, you will see along the bottom of your screens is our website address, and that is where you go register as a driver, and all your information about booking in is all on our online oval racing website. So keep an eye out for that, guys. Gav, if I can just ask you on the technical side to select Heat 5 for us on
Yeah.
screen, and also admin say, can you reboot your R Factor Live, please? And then you
Oh,
should
that I
be
can
up and
do.
running again.
Let's give that a go. That should help us with being able to see who is where. That looks like that should be booting up again now, which is nice. We can take a quick look over and see what's happening on track. There's not a lot happening at the moment, guys. They've obviously just been sorting the server out, so everyone is going to be slowly joining back in.
Okay, so as we say, just prepping now for Heat 5. Obviously, when the server goes down, that affects everybody. That affects us commentators, that affects the admin, that affects the drivers, and anybody who has been practicing before, who is just watching tonight but hasn't necessarily been able to register for this one and get booked in for this meeting at Birmingham.
So while we're dealing with the fact that it is Heat 5, we'll just update that on our screen so that is what you guys can see. Now, this is the car that we have to join the races with. Well, someone didn't like Wayne Wolsey's skin there. I didn't see who that was.
Fisk. Yeah, the wild man is back, that's for sure.
I did see a flash of green. I did wonder if it might have been Danny, but yeah. So that's a little bit of green now on the back left bumper of Wayne Wolsey's car there. You see the other cars as they stream past. Let's get into their positions a little further up the grid. Carl Waller-Barrett there in the centre of your screen, and Yannick Kalansky behind him, just making the move past as they come around into their positions. Carl had a pretty good race, his first outing this evening, so it'll be interesting to see what he does. Let's see if we can find... There he is. Well, there we go.
Oh dear, he had a little nudge as well.
Someone returning the favour on Daniel Erdl there in the number 28 car, who you guys quite rightly pointed out drove a very strong race earlier on, flag to flag. He's definitely going to be one to watch out for this evening with a slightly diminished, I think it's probably the best way to put it, superstar field that we've got out in this race with just the two drivers. We're saying just the two drivers. I'm guessing we were right in that assumption that QE wasn't coming out again, having already completed his 2 heats for the night.
Yeah, I'm just trying to flick through in the live timing. They're still just lining up at the moment, so I'm sort of, there's cars moving around everywhere at the minute.
Josh King there, parking up behind Daniel Erdl. He was one of the early leaders in his race before spinning out, so he'll be hoping that he doesn't repeat his previous race and he actually stays up there this time. He did have some good pace, but yeah, just couldn't hold it together, sadly.
It looks to me like QE is in this race, so that'll be interesting to see exactly what the admins do about that one. Oh, and off they go. Ready for another tussle at the front.
Little nudge there. That was the 24 car going round.
Now, just a quick note for viewers, I think the timing screens again, we've got one car a lap ahead of the rest, and that's Danny Fisk. If we ignore that, Danny, if we just focus on his track position, that will give us an idea of where he is. He, I think, is around 5th on track, but for some reason, again, ranking system is displaying him as pretty much a lap ahead of everyone else. Daniel 28, Daniel Erdl taking up the lead then. Josh King, I believe, was in 2nd. Yeah, I think he's just about holding it.
Yeah, definitely. And the thing that will be causing that problem, unfortunately, is the way that the admins have to get the drivers to line up into their relevant groups. So I'm guessing what's happened at some point, although it has now updated and is now actually showing Daniel 28 in 1st and Danny Fisk back down in 3rd. So it looks like they've finally caught up with themselves.
Yeah, it makes it a lot easier for our viewers, doesn't it? There was an orange car on the inside wall there. I'm not quite sure if you guys spotted who that was.
Just obscured by the hill, sadly, but yeah, car out already. Not sure who it was, whether it was a mid-pack driver or superstar, but there appears to be a lot of smoke around it, so who knows what's happened there.
Yeah, that was a nudge on Carl Waller-Barrett there, I think, from Daniel in the 28 car, who was up on the inside.
And Waller-Barrett's round.
That's Wayne Woolsey, I think, that's gone round there. Let's have a look. That's Wayne Woolsey in the 950 car. There's Carl Waller-Barrett, who's getting a bit sideways, but he's still very much in the running.
Up there with the only mini, King Womble. Stunning looking car.
Yeah, Carl has just benefited and gone up to 8th place by the looks of that. He was in 9th when I was quiet just then, but he's up to 8th now.
Tim Close in the gunmetal grey, I think, that's a Corsa in front.
Yeah.
And he's running in 6th.
He had a good few runs last week. I'm sure he got a 2nd position in one of the heats, so he has had some relatively consistent rides. And he's coming under a lot of pressure now as Waller-Barrett closes in.
He's not doing bad to hold Carl Waller-Barrett off at this point in time.
Speaking of closing in, our 2nd man, Josh King, seems to be getting that gap down
on
Daniel Ursel. And round goes the wild man. Oh, can Danny get going again?
He definitely took a little tag there from... I didn't see who that was that caught him. There's definitely someone that caught him and helped him round there as we watch 8th place man Craig Durrant. Ricky Slater there in
just being given a bit of warning about contact there, so he's just been asked to keep his distance a bit.
Josh King definitely the one on the charge at the moment.
And there's Yannick Kalansky. He's holding station in 3rd at the moment, although he's getting a little bit slidey. It's lap 15 of 15, so I'm guessing it's the last lap round. I'm wondering whether or not these guys are showboating on the last lap, or whether or not some of them are genuinely having some issues. But, I mean, he seems to have taken 3rd place quite comfortably, so I think we could probably notch that one up to showboating. Let's see, if he starts pulling donuts in the middle of the track there, then we'll know that that's what that was.
My screen's a little all over the place, but I think that was another win for Daniel 28. So it's his second win of the night, 20 points to his name. Josh King getting it round and keeping it together this time and taking second. I think we can confirm those ones. And Kalansky there with the third place. Another good performance from him, solid stuff. He'll be very happy with that.
So yeah, the timing screens and everything are unfortunately at the mercy somewhat of things when the race is set up initially. R Factor is very much designed as a simulation to be one that's used in circuit racing rather than short ovals, so it tends to struggle a little bit. But you haven't got a huge amount of choice out there in the on the simulation side of things for short oval simulators. And I mean, I know you used to use R Factor Dom quite a bit back in the day. What sort of other things can people look at using R Factor, the base sim for, as well as the National Hot Rods?
Well, R Factor itself is a really, really versatile game. It's got such a good engine that I think it's probably one of the most competent classic sims out there, and it definitely gives the best sort of feel for all the cars. For those watching who are also short oval fans, there are Brisker mods that they're quite popular. The Brisker F1 mods and F2s for that matter. There's also super stocks, mini stocks. One which I'm a particular fan of is the classic Hot Rods mod, where you've got drivers from the old days. We mentioned Norman Woolsey earlier. We've got Ormond Christie, all the big names: Collard, Polly, Barry Lee, all the favourites from yesteryear. But yeah, there are many other things. It's pretty much whatever you can think of. There is probably a mod for it on R Factor. There is everything from NASCAR to Formula One to outlaw oval racing on the dirt to touring cars. Yeah, it's all there, and it's one of the best, I think, classic sims out there that people can just pick up and play. It's relatively cheap nowadays, and there's still so much support it gets, even though it has a sequel out. There's so much that you can do with this game, and I still would love to play it, but I just haven't got the time anymore, I'm afraid.
I think one of the only other downsides that you probably have noticed whilst watching the stream on this, it can be a little bit difficult for compared to a lot of the newer sims which are set up for esports and everything from the get-go. It's a little bit clunky trying to get it to work for R Factor, so issues that we have, like the results and everything not coming through, tend to stem more from the game having problems than anything else. But that's by the by. I think it's probably about time that we start looking at who is going to be on the grid for our sixth and final heat this evening. Sarah, why don't you do the honours?
Okie dokie. So our pole man for this final heat of the evening is Daniel 28. Lining up alongside him is G Baker 216. Your second row is The Ghost, and Donovan Vorster 73 will be alongside him. In row 3 is Raymond Henson, and alongside, as you say, the Irishman Damien Mulvey, who is joining us from this evening for the first time, and has actually brought quite a lot of kit, I think, to try and get to grips with this. He's a good Irish hot rod racer, in real life. David Ryan and Charlie Aylward, 23, are the back of your white group for this final heat.
I'll jump in and take the yellows then, which starts out with Chris Crane in the green number 15 car. And then we have Pecky in that 412, the replica of the old 205. And Alan Christie, who is racing in a very retro looking skin at the moment in his car. Go on, Dom, take the blues.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'll pick up the blues for you. So at the front of that, we have Wooly Hardy 972. Good looking car on for his car. Oh, sorry, good looking skin on his car. Sean Taylor just sat behind him. They've raced together in Heat 3. Have to do it again this time. And Jay Hammond rounding out the blues. He last raced in Heat 2.
So we've got two in our reds for this final heat. So we've got Gavin Murray, who is the Suffolk man cannonball himself, lining alongside Dan Smith, who is known as Smithy 565.
And finally, if we take a look at the superstars for this heat number 6, we've got Simon in the 998 car. That's the red and blue one that you've. It's probably quite noticeable. Then we've got Aaron McGrath. He's in the 57 and is definitely one that we should be keeping an eye out on. As is Lewis Willisey in the 144 car behind, and he is alongside Sean Jacklin, which makes up the back of the grid that we've got there with the superstars. So, guys, again, same questions we had every heat. Is there a name in there that jumps out at you?
Well, I'm just going off the performers from last week. I remember Willisey was one of the ones I was regularly shouting for because he was doing a very good job getting around all all the pack markers, carving through the pack, coming to the front. Simon Kennedy was another. They're probably my two favourites for this one, but you can't write off Jacklin as well. He's put in some solid performances, and Gavin Murray for that matter as well.
Yeah, I was going to say Superstock 144, so you've already picked up that one. So yeah, what do you reckon, Gav?
I'm going with this man that we're watching now on screen, just for the fact that he's been he's been very much of an unknown because it's his first meeting out with us. So I'm going with Daniel in this silver 28 car. We've already seen what he's capable of with a flag to flag victory earlier on this evening. So yeah, I kind of think that he's got a pretty good chance of being able to pull out a lead and no one get near him.
He's definitely been very fast and consistent with his driving. I don't know, again, he appeared in the last heat, so I don't know whether we have had some shuffles or changes. He's a lot bit like Huey. This will be his third heat. But yeah, he's been really solid, and I expect to see him up in Superstar or Red Grade next week because his performances have really been on the nose tonight.
Definitely. So as we pan through the grid, Sean Taylor there on the outside, Willie Hardy in the 72 car on the inside. Let's watch as these guys just finish off getting lined up. Chris Crane there in that green 15 car. There we are. Look, we'll go back around to Cameron Sayers. I know Don was a fan of this livery. Cameron, very much from a history of racing, banger racing games as opposed to national hot rods. Shows a little bit in his painting style, I must admit.
There's definitely a very clear difference between a banger livery and a hot rod livery. It's really noticeable from some of the things I've seen also floating around lately at the moment.
Definitely, and it's interesting actually when you look at this, when you see just how much effort some of the guys have obviously gone to as they start revving, and that us underway, and that was a terrible start there from Daniel in the 28 car. That's already that's relegated him down to third according to our standings. And yeah, that's right. Look, Cameron Sayers in the banger painted hot rod has got past and into second, although he's very much under pressure from Daniel.
Daniel
the end,
has the inside, and yeah, again, the consistency showing through. He's got some good pace under his car tonight, and I expect he'll be moving up and challenging for the lead very soon as well.
Now, we were saying we thought he was showboating a little bit earlier on, and you can see even here, not so much coming out of this corner, but as you watch going around the back corner, he's definitely getting a little bit out of shape. Not so much there as he tucks up the inside.
That seemed pretty inevitable. He's got such a fast car underneath him. And yeah, very neat out the last corner, actually. No sign of anything there. Pecky in the wall again. Disappointment for him.
Just want to give a shout out to Chris Crane, who's got himself up to third by the looks of things. He was halfway back down the grid, so the number 15 man has done really well there to get up to third.
And that was Sean Taylor that I just saw facing around the wrong way that Daniel passed there.
Was Gav, and yeah, he's had another bit of a disappointing heat so far, and he's still there, so I think that might just be a retirement for him.
So here we go. Oh! Hang on a minute. Just
that
pan
was, yeah,
back
that was
round to
Daniel's
that. That
leading.
was Daniel that was in the wall there. Cut away from that at the wrong time. I'm now reading the number 79, which is, well, going by his online name, it's Oboe Racer. I'm trying to remember what his name is in real life. It's something Potter. I can't remember it off the top of my head.
79, yeah, did retake the lead. Again, I can't see him holding off very much longer, though. Daniel's pace good. Oh, we've
That's
got
a
cars up the wall.
big
And
mess that
another
we
one.
saw there. Let's see if we can have a look
Daniel's
at that.
chase.
Chris Crane's running around the outside in reverse.
Yeah, sorry, commentator's curse. Sorry, Chris.
Lewis
But-
Willis's made his way up by the looks of things as well. The red and white car there, with the
That's
yellow
him
writing on the
there.
inside, he has made a lot of progress from the back. And as I said, he was one of the top performers last week. He's now really making strides up the field.
Running up
Difficult
in
to see
third.
what happened there at the front, but again, Daniel's lead, or Daniel's chance to win this race has pretty much been wiped out, and we're coming into the closing stages now. He's within a second, so there's every chance he could go for the win here.
Let's see if we can catch back up with Daniel.
Oh, good phasing car there.
Aaron McGrath there,
Daniel
who hasn't
Daniel
done...
point. Sorry, go on.
No, hasn't done anything special. We're trying to find... And what's that? That's the 79 car. That's
I think
because he's
that's-
finished there.
That's race
Yeah,
finished.
Checkers-
Race is ended.
Checkers has flown, and Daniel didn't get the chance to catch up, sadly. Race ruined somewhat by that incident in the on the back straight. Mid-pack drivers getting caught up, one facing the wrong way, and Daniel just getting caught up in that and losing out on victory for his third race this evening.
There he is there. I don't know who else was caught up in that little event that happened down on the back straight. I saw Alan Christie's car, which is that white, red and black. That's quite distinctive. And also
There was a
intrigued as
green
to
Tigra in there as well.
Willie Hardy giving a few people a bit of a nudge now that the race has finished. A bonus
Chance
of...
to take us through some results there, Gav, before they disappear on us.
So, we have Oboe Racer number 79 in first. We have Daniel in his 28 car second. Lewis Willisey in third. Simon 998 in fourth. Cameron Sayers in fifth place. Sean Jacklin in sixth. Aaron McGrath in seventh. We have Smithy 565 in eighth. We have Tommy Daly, Mr. BDR 867 in ninth. And Shad, who is one of our new drivers, Ryan, is finishing out top 10. Sean Taylor, nowhere to be seen in the top 10 after his instant disappearing off into the wall. He was a little bit unlucky this time round. Not had the best of luck transitioning over to the virtual side of things compared to the real world hot rods.
I just want to give a shout out to his little boy though, Max, who is a very good friend of ours. Just want to give a shout out to Max and say hello there, bud. I know you're watching us this evening.
Definitely.
So just quickly for all the viewers, we've had Gavin Murray join us on the stream tonight. He's just been dumped into our group so that all of you lot can hear them. Bit of a difficult last heat there, Gavin. Don't know what happened, but yeah,
difficult night all in all, to be honest. Never quite made the grid the whole night, so we've had a few technical issues my end and a typical Birmingham wheels night really. So there you go. We'll be back again, I'm sure.
So was it not one of your favourites when you got the chance to race it?
No, it's a good track. It's just a very difficult. You tend to go there early in the afternoon and have a practice, and by the time you start the first heat, the track is completely changed, and it's a very, very changeable night. So yeah, that's always a bit of an unknown. So, how you're going to get on throughout the evening, really.
It's good to have you with us. You were obviously here for the first round at Ipswich as well. You're one of the first sort of big names to have joined this group. Why did you want to take up this this online racing as during the lockdown? It's just simply tied you over.
Yeah, a little bit tide you over, but also try and raise a bit of awareness for the brand, the National Hot Rod and brand, and try and drive a few people to the website nationalhotrod.com and Speedworth TV, and just try and help out really. And that's, I know this game has been around for quite a long while. I'm not a gamer by any degree, but I just thought I'd give it a go and have a bit of fun really. As several of us who've all joined at the same time. A lot of the Irish are a lot quicker than us English as normal, but it's been good. It's been good. It's a lot harder than I thought it was going to be fair.
Yeah, we're getting a lot of the real drivers, as you say. Quite a few of the Irish coming on board. Former champion Adam Maxwell, just one of the many who have made an appearance. Are you going to be taking part in any others? Any other sort of R-Factor racing, or is the hot rods very much where your mind is set?
Well, we'll probably give it a go. I mean, I've bought a steering wheel and bits and pieces like everybody else has, really, just to have a go. So yeah, I mean, we'll have a go at something else. I'm quite interested. I follow NASCAR quite closely, so I might have a go at a few series and that, and have a play. But the National Hot Rods is where the heart is, as I'm sure a lot of other people are.
Oh, that's good to hear. You've got a very nice car out there, obviously a replica of your own Tigra A. Are you going to the real world side of things? Obviously everything on hold at the moment, but you still have to look at the points and how they've come from the end of last year. What do you think your chances are, come the world final? Well, I know we haven't got any set date for it at the moment, but if we are to run something later on this year, what do you think your chances are of making that grid?
Well, we really struggled last year. I mean, we started the first round or one of the early rounds sort of on the back foot, really. Then we had a big incident at Birmingham Wheels, had a head-on at the end of the straight, which caused quite a lot of damage, and it caused more damage, which we didn't really pick up until the next 3 or 4 meetings. So that cost us quite dearly in the points. So I'm not sure exactly where we are. I think we're 20th or 22nd in the points at the minute. So it depends on how they run the World Final qualifying, or whether it's just going to be we'll pitch up on the 3rd of July and we're all in. I don't know what the theory is going to be there. So we'll just have to wait and see. But me and the team have worked really hard over the winter to try and improve the car. We've cut it completely to bits. We've altered the chassis, and we've done a lot of stuff to try and find that little bit of speed which we've been lacking. As yet, we haven't had a chance to try it, so we're itching to get started. But just the same as everybody else, we're all just sitting here and waiting, really.
Yeah, indeed. I mean, I've spoken with another hot rod driver during this lockdown. I spoke on a Speedworth TV interview with John Christie, and he's very vocal about how he'd like to see the World Final run. Have you got any sort of opinions of how it's run now and how you'd possibly like to see it run, given these changes that were going to have to be made to the calendar this year?
There's a lot of different theories. I mean, a lot of people would like to see the World Final on a Saturday night. A lot of people would like to see qualifying on the day. In heats, like the same format as National Championship. I don't mind doing the lap times and qualifying times, but the 3 laps thing, I think, is I find that quite hard work to get your car to switch on. Some drivers can do it. I particularly can't. And when we first started, I believe we used to do like 10 minutes. So you'd have a bit of time to put your fastest lap in. That format was quite good, but then that's not necessarily interesting for the crowd. So maybe to go to the same format as a national championship where you qualify on the day for the big one is perhaps the answer. But that's above my pay grade to make that decision, I guess.
Indeed. Well, it's been good hearing from you. Is there anyone that you want to give a shout out to or give thanks to while we've still got you on?
Well, yeah, we're lucky enough to have quite a vast selection of sponsors, which we couldn't really put the car on the track without. And we've got a long list here. Disangling Centre, Matrix Networks, Tony Smith Kitchens, Ideal Commercial, Artisan Drinks, NGK Spark Plugs, ZX1, GWO Fasteners, Grip Fixings Limited, Royston Service Centre, Catamels Ipswich, First Call Car Parts, Foosh Oil, Nimbus Motorsport, Solvay Spares, and True 7 Group. Without all these people, we really couldn't put the car on the track. And that's not necessarily the money that they're providing. That's just the support, the backup, and the raw materials to enable us to go racing every week, which we value so dearly.
It's good to hear, and glad you've got some good backing behind you, and hopefully, you can have a good rest of the season when it all kicks off again. And best of luck back out on track this evening, and obviously in the car.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, we need a bit of luck going into the real season. We've underperformed really over the last 3 years, and we've been working hard to try and rectify that. So hopefully we can we'll turn a corner when things get back to normality. We'll be ready to go.
Cool. Well, great stuff, and thank you for taking time out between the races to speak with us.
Yeah, no worries at all. No problem at all.
Cheers.
Cheers, then. Bye.
It's almost sounding like you've done that before, Dom.
You wouldn't have guessed.
So that Mr. Gavin Murray that you heard from just there, guys, the number 95 Cannonball himself. We're still sort of waiting to see what's happening with regards to the B final. I don't know if you've had any heads up on what's happening with the grid, Sarah. I haven't had anything that's come through from the admins thus far, and there's not anyone that seems to really be joining in on the server.
Yeah, they're just literally racing through now. Unfortunately, we have sort of 3 or 4 different ways that the guys use their names. So we have the website where they register and book in, as we said earlier on. We then have something called Discord, which is basically where we all chat to each other, and also the admins are running the system for the evening, which is a bit like your kind of modern day MSN messaging screen. And then we've also got the actual simulator where the races take place. Unfortunately, the guys are all using different names in all of these places, so it makes the job for the admins really hard. If they use the same name, it'd be a lot easier. So we're literally just going through. So I'm just getting some feedback from the admins right now. So if you bear with me a minute, hopefully I might at least be able to give you your first few runners for our RB final.
What we'll probably do is it probably means that we'll be without the somewhat flashy graphics that we've had running earlier on this evening, and that will be something that will obviously get sorted out in the coming weeks. As
Gav, I'm hearing you should have the first the runners for the B final. They've been sent over to you now.
Oh, now that's interesting to hear. We can have a look at that now. I still think I don't know whether or not we're going to have enough time to be able to get everything into place graphics wise. So I can go through who we've got running in the heats, and that's probably going to be the easier way for us to do it this time round. This obviously being only the second full week that we've been running, we're still a few teething issues here and there that we've got to iron out with the broadcast side of things.
I'm sure everyone will appreciate also that we've been running the grids through with everyone's skin, so that's been a massive development this week. So well done to Tads and Gav for working on that one this week.
Yep, so there's been that going on. Everyone obviously has to have their own skins in game, and as Sarah very rightly mentioned, it's a case of trying to tally up everyone's name, because they've all decided, as you said, to use different names across each of the different platforms that we can use to contact them, which is always going to make life a little bit more interesting. Have you got the grid, Sarah, so we can start looking through them, or do you want me to just start going through?
I haven't got any grids at all. Unfortunately, I've lost my Discord messaging system, so I have no grids for anything, but you should have both.
Right, so I've got the B final and the A final. So start with the B final, because that is what we are going to be watching first. And we have Mr. BDR 867, that's Tommy Daly, Ryan Wolsey. Wooly Hardy is going to be out in his 72 car, Scotty in the 78, the red and blue, and Aaron McGrath in that highly recognisable number 57 Corsa. Then we have Johnny McCoy, Dom Freeman, Craig Durrant in the number 84 Mini, one of 2 that are running. Mr. Tads is also there, the admin, And then we have our Phantom 326 car with his name Forks 46. That just kind of epitomises exactly what the admins are up against. Someone using 46 in their name that they use in game, but they're running under a completely different number when you actually watch them. Tommy Chrome is after that, followed by Alan Christie, Chris Wilkes in the 111 car, and Pecky. Then we've got Glenn B, Chris Crane, FM Racing 17 is then showing up. Not sure that's quite right from the admins. I don't remember actually having seen him in server tonight at all. Then we've got King Womble and Lucas in the number 24 car. Now that's going to round out the B final, the winner of which goes in with the 20 drivers, the 20 highest scoring drivers that we've had this evening in the A final. So that's how things are going to work out the back end of this evening. The cars are all starting to make their way into the pit area so that they can come out and start being staged by the admins. So I had to rattle the names off somewhat quickly there for you guys. Were there any names that jumped out at you, who might have underperformed a little bit and we could see possibly making their way to the top and possibly picking up that final 21st spot in the A final?
Well, I know everyone's going to get bored about me talking about the Wolsey family, but they have got the history there, and I was amazed actually to see that Ryan hasn't done that well tonight and is in this B final. So he's at the front of the grid there. Keep your eyes peeled, I suggest.
Definitely. It's definitely one to watch. There's no one else who I think really jumps out at me from that B final that's had a particularly strong showing tonight.
I mean, I was going to say, I hope that Pecky finishes the race this time. He's had a real torrid time out there this evening. It looks like he had retirement or spins in the first one and a definite retirement in the second. I mean, he may not qualify, but just seeing him get to the line, that would be great because, we want well for all of our drivers. And yeah, he's had a real difficult one this evening.
He's had a pretty torrid time since starting with trying to get into the whole sim racing side of things. Pecky last week was having issues, I think, with a skin and then with connection issues and then controller issues. It seems to have all stacked up against him. So yeah, definitely with you on that one. It would be awesome to see him. Well, let's just hope for a finish. As you said, that would be nice. Aaron McGrath, I think, is going to be my sort of outsider to keep an eye on in that 57 car. Ryan Wolsey, yeah, is definitely the obvious choice, as Sarah mentioned. Sat up on the front row of the grid, he's going to be a hard man to get past. But Aaron McGrath, if he's on form in this final, could definitely be one to watch out for from behind and see what kind of moves he can make.
It's that all-important place in the A final up for grabs. Granted, they're back of the grid, but anything can happen in motorsport, and it usually does, as Murray Walker famously said. And yeah, it's the points in that race are what matters and what contribute to the championship. So they'll want to be part of it at least, just so that they can potentially score the odd point and get their name on the board championship-wise.
You can never go wrong with quoting Murray Walker in my eyes. Never go wrong with quoting Murray. An absolute legend in the broadcasting and commentating. Well, in fact, no, the world in general. Let's not box him into just commentating in Formula One.
I had the honour of meeting him in a previous employment. A really, really lovely man. And probably the first to ever email me back when I used to send out a group email. Yeah, total legend, as you say. And a really thoroughly nice guy with it.
So let's flip over to what's happening on track at the moment. That's Johnny Hammond that you can see there. He's out and lining up. We can see the other cars streaming past. James Bennett in that 284 car there. Some very colourful cars that we've got on the grid.
Yeah, the car's obviously still forming up, ready to race, but just getting into the graded orders or the points orders. Yeah, we've got one of the very few Saxos on the grid as well. I personally love the Saxo on this game. I don't know if I'm one of the minority, but Saxo, BMW, and I don't think we've got any Corrados on the grid, but yeah, some of these cars only being favoured by very few.
Not one Corrado. You are indeed right. It's pretty much all been overtaken by this type of car here. The Vauxhall Tigra is the choice of the masses, and there we go. Look at the back of that little group of 4 that you can see there. There's that 715 car, Sarah. That's what we've gone for instead of bright green the whole way across. Ronan O'Brien there moved on with a bit more of an Irish scheme.
Yeah, I'm not too sure. He looks a bit like Sean Taylor's green there on his little bit on his boot. But just to remind everybody, we are actually on the final B, not Heat 6. We've moved on the races.
Very true. It's very true.
I wish I wasn't like 100 miles away from you, Gav, so I could have given you a little nudge in the ribs. But obviously, everyone involved here, we're sat, apart from 2 of us, very much in completely different counties.
So here we go. Final B is underway. Tommy Daly in that 867 car. That can be your makeshift favourite car for the moment, Sarah, running very much in a green colour scheme there. Wooly Hardy tucked in behind him in 2nd place. And Ryan Wolsey, there he is. He's in 3rd. He's definitely going to be one to look out for. Already 2nd off the leader. Let's see what he can do and whether or not he can put the moves on Wooly behind and start challenging for the lead as Tommy Daly catches up with Sean Taylor. That was I just saw on the edge of the shot. There he is in the Martlesham Service Centre sponsored 152 car. A little
Tommy
group
Daly,
of them.
Tommy Daly putting out a good gap to the rest of the guys. He's sort of been quite quiet all evening. Oh, Taylor, contact again.
And Alan Christie as well.
Not sure what the stewards will be saying about that one, but Tommy Daly is the lead car, and they, to a degree, they have got to bear that in mind. We've got Wolsey there in 2nd now, I think. Yes, that's correct. Wolsey has come up to 2nd. He'll be wanting to take that lead, but he has got a bit of catching to do. There is a nice little buffer that he's got between Wolsey. Nearly
a 1 second gap back from Tommy Daly, who's in the lead. And for the most part so far, the backmarkers seem to be getting out of the way of the lead pack of cars. I know Craig Durrant said that he was trying to just be consistent and stay out of their way, although we're watching Tommy Daly get a little bit squirmy. Ryan Wolsey.
Mini's gone wide this time, and Wolsey's now probably going to go through. But Daly's still leading and trying to build up that buffer again.
For a second there, I thought that Ryan was going to capitalise on that and try and sneak through while Daly was caught up in amongst the back markers. He's tagged the wall a little bit there, coming out that corner as we look back at Ryan Wolsey behind. It's not a huge gap.
Got Hardy up to 3rd as well also, so that's going to be a good tussle there. Just over a second gap. It is changing all the time.
Oh, Wolsey's through!
Tommy Daly running wide.
There's a slight wiggle, the car just getting loose on the inside curb. I think he might have hit one of the rumbles that Birmingham has. And yeah, Ryan Wolsey has capitalised on that and has taken up the lead.
Oh, and that was Wooly Hardy that was facing the wrong way. Back from 3rd, he's dropped right down the order now. That puts Wooly Hardy back in 9th.
Well, it's very much these two then that are racing for the victory and that last spot on the A final grid.
Definitely half a second between them.
Daly is still within touch, but I'm not sure whether he's got the pace in him to retake the lead. Let's wait and see.
Cars coming together there. Now you can see what I mean about the steering wheel here and how it's only moving slightly as you would expect a steering wheel to do, as that's Taylor.
Through. Wolsey's gone, he's been taken out, or Wolsey's had contact, and Daly is now back in the lead. Contact with Fisk, more trouble going on here. The leaders are having to do their best to stay out of the way of those back markers.
17 laps out of 25 gone so far. That means there's still 8 laps left for Ryan Wolsey to try and pull that one back. That's 2 changes of leader that we've seen only between these two drivers. But 2 changes. We started out with Tommy Daly leading. Ryan Wolsey passed him, and he's going to have another look this time
Having a
around,
look.
possibly.
Very close stuff. Little nudge, but I don't think he'll have the momentum to go through. No, Daly is holding it this time.
Ryan's having a look up the inside. The gap doesn't seem to be changing much. They're very much maintaining momentum. It'll be interesting to
Yeah,
see
I've
what.
just been looking at that 0.2, 0.3. That's the gap. A very exciting tussle at the front here.
I
Just the
think
sort
it's
of race that we wanted to see.
going to take a mistake from one of these guys that's going to settle this, I think.
And of course, they both know that this is a place in the A final as well at risk. So they will both be really gunning for this win.
4 laps to go. Let's ride on board now with Tom Daly. You can see, if we switch over to the rear view there, Ryan Wolsey tucked up behind. Just watch as they come into the bottom corners here. Ryan, they tax the wall a little bit there. Ryan seems to get a bit of a better run out of these corners over the past few laps. As, gives Daly a little nudge.
This could be the move. Wolsey's got loose out the corner. I don't think he's going to do it.
So they come
Daly
round onto
has
the
just
final
built
lap.
a little bit of a gap.
I'm with you on this one, Dom. A 1 second gap now back to Ryan Wolsey. These two pretty much inseparable for the rest of the races. There is a big pile of smoke. That looked like Willie Hardy in the wall there. As they come over to finish.
I think it was 4th and 5th place had spun as they were just coming over the finish. Just trying to see.
Danny Fisk taking some flying lessons there.
That was. Danny Fisk was flying, and I saw a few cars that were facing the wrong direction. Definitely not the way that you want to be facing if you're racing. But that looks very much like
donuts.
There we go. Tommy Daly is definitely going to be our man through to the 21st position in Final A. Ryan Wolsey in second. Dom Freeman was shown there briefly in third, although these guys pulling donuts and everything is going to muck up the timings. But I think we can categorically say Tommy Daly is going to be our man who is going to be picking up 21st place in Final A, which will be underway shortly. Now, I don't know whether or not you guys are going to be able to, if you've been sent who is also in Final A, or else not, I'll take you through the list now. So, Final A, sitting pole on the grid, Mr. Daniel 28. That fantastic drive that he had earlier on, flag to flag victory, and he is alongside Yannick Kilansky in second, Noel McFerrin in third, and Derek Martin in fourth. That is going to be one to watch. That top 4 could be very spicy over the course of a 25 lap race. Obo Racer in the 79 car is then in fifth, with Tim Close in his 89 Corsa in sixth. Lewis Willisey in seventh, and Cameron Sayers in the banger paint obviously isn't affecting him that badly. Cameron Sayers, his first meeting out, has got himself through to the A final with Josh King alongside him. Ricky Slater, Jack Elwood, and Mr. Barber. Then Simon 998, Sean and Carl Waller Barrett. Huey, Smithy 565, Charlie Elwood, who's not done too bad either for his first time out, as has Donovan Vorster, and finally rounding out the 20 for the A final from the original points is Luke Loveland in that very nice silver 220 car, and they are obviously now joined by Tommy Daly, who has secured himself 21st slot in the A final.
Just having a little look through some of the comments on Facebook and YouTube. Apparently it's chucking it down in Birmingham, about a mile away from Wheels. Can you imagine if we also altered the weather conditions? So we'd have to alter the setups. Can you imagine? I don't think these guys, a lot of them are new to online racing, as we've said before. I don't think they could handle that being thrown at them as well.
That's taken the simulation to the whole next level. We'll keep them on the drive for the moment. Maybe a couple of seasons in, we might be able to start introducing something with weather, but I don't think that's the kind of thing, especially given some of the spins and that. We seem to have had a lot more spins this week than last week.
Yeah, we have. More guys on track is the only thing I can think of. A lot of new racers, maybe some, as I say, new to the online gaming, maybe haven't been able to get the practice in they would have liked. It is very different conditions. You know, sitting, watching your computer and thinking you know what you're doing to actually going around controlling a real life car.
Dom, can we get you out in a car? I think this needs to be done now. It needs to be done. He said that he's previously raced R Factor. I think at some point in this season we need to kind of have a commentators race. I think that's something that needs to happen.
I'd have to I'd have to dust off some old equipment. I'm sure I'd be happy to race, more than happy. But yeah, just depends where. I'd have to get my old Saxo out, and possibly get someone in the kind person in the community to design me a nice skin. Um, and yeah, well, maybe it will happen. But at this point in time, I'm still content. Sat here commentating. So sadly, the only way of playing it I have at the moment is keyboard, and that is atrocious. Having gone into a practice lobby for Ipswich, I think it was, I was over a second off the slowest person, and it's simply, even with a few little technical bits of know-how that I know how to set the car up, even with that, it's just so unpredictable on keyboard. I've got no throttle control, no steering control really. It just wasn't really a viable option to take part.
So you've heard it here first. He's not completely against the possibility. It's definitely something that we could see coming up in the future. Sarah.
I would be the Mark Peck of the gang. My 4-year-old little boy is much better at this than I am. So I have tried it. I must be honest. I did try it 2 or 3 weeks ago. Was allowed to sit in the race chair with my husband's special steering wheel that he's I don't know where he's been getting this stuff from. I know he's been hitting eBay a bit, but my 4-year-old is a lot better than I am. So I think I'll leave it to the boys of the family.
So there we go. What we've got to look out for is if the race does ever happen, we've got to look out to see whether or not it's actually your young son who's racing for you. So we'll have to make sure that we're talking to you so that you can't try and pull a fast one on us with that one then.
I'd have a go. I always say never. I will always try my hand at whatever, but I can't say I'm very good at this online racing look.
So here we go. We're looking at the lead group here for the final A. As I said, I can see this being a very interesting group with Daniel 28, Yannick Kalansky there. You can see Derek Martin warming up his tyres.
We've had a shout out as Niall McFerrin as the winner from Stephen Roberts, one of our followers on Facebook tonight.
We'll keep an eye out for that one. He's definitely in contention. There is Niall McFerrin. Derek Martin, that guy next to him, I wouldn't count him out either.
This is a class act top 4 that we have. It's going to be really interesting to see who comes out on top at the end of these 25 laps. Yeah, there's a few further back we can't write off, but I think it has to be between these top 4. They've been on form all evening. Derek Martin with that sterling first race where he came all the way from the back. And Daniel 28 has been consistent all evening, never outside the top 3.
So, trying to work out whether or not they all look like they're getting themselves into position and revving as away we go.
Good start from McFerrin and Daniel 28. Oh,
Yannick Kalansky getting up on the curbing.
Into the lead goes Daniel 28. McFerrin has followed him through. Derek Martin is in 4th. Kalansky is in between McFerrin and Martin. And Lewis Willisey made up a few places at the start. He's up to 5th. Josh King following him. And this battle for the lead now heating up.
That was an interesting one. I thought that McFerrin was actually going to try going around the outside. He is going to try going around the outside by the looks of things.
I love a person goes around the outside. He's doing a George Polly, and McFerrin is giving it his all. Look at this.
That. Fantastic racing, and good close racing from these two guys as well, which is nice to see.
Going
yeah,
wide
there's a lot of respect there, isn't there?
Going wide does have its benefits. You get on the power earlier, and you do get better run out the corner, less steering angle used, but at the same time, you are using that bit more of track. And the battle between these two Peugeots then for the lead, Daniel 28 and Noel McFerrin.
Now I think this is going to get very interesting round about now as we start hitting the back markers. I can see this being a race very heavily affected by what happens with the guys at the back of the pack just in front of them. Let's ride on board and see exactly what these guys are seeing as they're catching up with the back of the pack. This is on board with Daniel. Now
Just
thankfully,
Sorry,
the guys that they're racing... Go on.
Derek Martin is the man creeping up slowly behind them. He is now less than a second off the second place car.
In fact, he's right there. Look at him.
He's right there. So this is now going to be a three-way battle for the lead. And Martin now trying around the outside as well.
Phenomenal racing. We said it was going to be close between these top guys as Martin goes into second.
Gone, yeah, he's up to second now. Fantastic. Oh,
Noel McFerrin.
This is classy stuff between the three of them. Josh King making his way up into fourth. Great effort from him, who had those early difficulties. Lewis Willisey's been dropped back down.
And look, Josh King's getting up the inside. Oh, they got upside the inside of Derek Martin there and gave him a little bit of a nudge. That's pushed Derek Martin back down the order. He's back down to fourth now. I can see there being a possible word with the stewards being had over that one.
I've got great respect to Daniel, our leader here. He is doing so well to hold off McFerrin, who has already shown tonight what a class act he is.
Definitely. I mean, Daniel has shown that he's more than capable under pressure, which is as Noel McFerrin gets sideways, so does Daniel.
Around the outside.
Now watch Josh King behind. I think this is going to be an interesting one, watching Derek Martin. Josh King gave Derek Martin a bit of a nudge on his way through a couple of laps back. I'm wondering whether or not Derek might repay the favour. Whether he has or he hasn't, he's definitely got through.
Martin's through to third.
And now on lap 16 out of 25, it's going to be back to those three guys again. Daniel Erdl in the 28 car, Noel McFerrin in that 910 car, and Derek Martin, there he is, just coming into the shot in that 20 car. Look at that, he's closing up already. They're literally going to be running nose to tail.
Look at this, back markers still staying wide, doing their job, but there's a few just a hair's breadth away from the leaders. One mistake could wipe them all out, and we would not want that, especially with this being such a tantalising race. So close are the top four. This could, any of one of these could win. It could literally go down to the wire.
Now, in theory, you'd like to think that the guys that they're coming round past are going to have a little bit better racecraft than you might see in some of the earlier heats, because these are the guys who've done well. As Noel McFerrin goes up the inside.
Yeah, just need Kiwi to move out the way there. He's an experienced guy in real life, and he's done well over this first couple of weeks.
Q did, yeah, and he's holding out wide to let Derek Martin up the inside there.
Yeah, good racing from Kiwi there, well done.
But now Noel McFerrin in the lead.
Daniel 28 with it all to do as we come into the closing stages. McFerrin has shown his hand and it's gone through. Can Daniel stick with him?
So we're coming round lap 23 of 25.
So I was going to say McFerrin's already pulled away over half a second lead, which that's been the biggest gap of the whole race so far for the leader to position 2.
Now we've seen Daniel Erdl, we've seen him manage to hold people off. We haven't actually really seen him have to go on the attack at any point this evening, so it's going to be interesting to see how he reacts. He's only got a couple of laps to do it in.
Sarah's definitely right about that gap growing. It's now nearly a second, and Derek Martin is sniffing an opportunity, and there he goes.
And Daniel Erdl running very slow there.
Yeah, he's slowed right down, isn't he? Has he got a problem?
I think that's got to be some sort of problem there for the number 28 car. Right back down the pack.
We've finished. We have finished. Check the flag.
So it was McFerrin. Erdl did take second, and yes, Derek Martin was third in the end.
So we just got far too excited by the racing and completely missed the fact that that was a checkered flag that caused that there. What a fantastic final between those guys.
If only that was 50 laps long, that would have been. We could have gone all evening with that race. That is some close stuff. Congratulations to Noel McFerrin. Well done to Daniel Erdl. He has really shown how much of a class act he is, and he will surely be moving up the grades for next week at Hednesford.
Definitely white grade at the moment, but that's only because that's his first time out. So yeah, we can definitely see him moving up. But Niall McFerrin, Daniel Erdl in second, Derek Martin in third, Josh King in fourth. He had a nice little scrap with Derek Martin halfway through the race. Lewis Willisey in fifth, Yannick Kalansky in sixth, Michael Barber seventh, Simon in the 998 car in eighth, Sean Jacklin in the 11 in ninth, and Jack Alward finishing out the top 10 for Final A this evening at Birmingham. So, Dom, your first event actually being here and talking live with everyone with us. How's it been for you?
Oh, it's been great. Honestly, it's a fantastic experience to be here, and yeah, hopefully start of more to come. I'm looking forward to Hednesford next week. It's one of my favourites. Having visited there in real life as well, it's a good circuit. Yeah, sign of things to come, I hope.
Well, huge thanks to you and the guys at Speedworth TV. You've been on board with us since the very beginning and been interested in what it is that we're doing, and yeah, especially with your knowledge and everything. With talking to Gavin Murray earlier on, that's something that's going to carry on, guys, across the rest of the course of the season. We will be talking to some of the drivers both in the event, and that's going to be a mix of not only real world hot rod drivers, but also some of the guys who have just been racing on the PC side of things, because they're definitely likely to be mixing it up. So, final thoughts for the evening, Sarah. What would you say was your highlight of this evening?
It's got to be that final, isn't it? Those two were just amazing. McFerrin and Martin, what a tussle. So, yeah, definitely a great way to finish our second round here at Birmingham.
Dom.
I mean, I actually think the final B was a good one as well. There was a multiple change of lead, but yeah, I think has to be said the A final, Niall McFerrin taking the full 20 points away from Daniel Erdl. That was a class race. We got so carried away we missed the end. So if only that could have gone on longer, that would have been a fantastic. That would have been so.
Yeah,
So much better.
what the people at home aren't quite aware, we are watching. Well, I myself am watching 6 different screens to try and keep up with what's going on. So yeah, we bear with us, guys. We are sort of fairly new to this, some of us, but we are trying to bring you the best coverage and hope you're all enjoying it. We'd love to hear some feedback from you, some shout outs, and we just thank you all for your support. This is growing bigger and bigger each week. Follow us on Facebook, follow us on YouTube, Online Oval Racing, and just join in with the mix. It's turning into a great community, and I can see we've actually got some European followers. Look like I think we've got some Germans that have joined us as well on YouTube. So thanks very much for your support, guys, from over the water.
Germans, Dutchmen, Irish, English. It doesn't matter where you're from. We're all here for one thing at the end of the day, and that is for the enjoyment of national hot rods and short track oval racing in general, really. And on that side of things, very much like to thank the guys at nationalhotrod.com and Speedworth Motorsports for being on board with us, but especially our guys at Speedworth TV. And Dom, who's been in with us this evening. Dom, I'll let you have the final say of the evening, and then we will call it a night, and very much look forward to speaking to everyone again in a week's time.
Well, yeah, thank you for that, Gav. Be sure to check out our channel. We've got some updates coming for those who are subscribers. If you aren't a subscriber, give us a look. Speedworth TV, we've got plenty of stuff piping out content-wise, even though it is still locked down. Plenty of archive stuff and features from home, interviews and the like. Footage of this race will also go up, much like the first week. And yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing how Hednesford is next week. It's one of my favourites and certainly one of the better tracks for hot rod racing.
So guys, it's been amazing having you with us, and from Dom, Sarah and myself, we very much look forward to seeing you again in 1 week's time Thursday night, 8:30, for round 3 of the online oval racing National Hot Rod Series. Thank you very much.